Vladimir Putin's unprovoked and bloody war against Ukraine is leaving Russia almost completely isolated among nations around the world in just 1 week and having an immediate impact on the world order. Let's discuss now with Richard Fontaine, the Chief Executive Officer of the Center for a New American Security. Thank you, Richard, for joining us. We really appreciate it this evening. It is now 1 week since Russia began its invasion of Ukraine. You say that the past 7 days have essentially turned the world order on its head. Explain that, sir, please.
Well, the world this week is not the same as the world last week. If you look back a week ago, Russia was seen by Europeans and other countries as a sullen, revisionist state that would act out on occasion, but not the kind of country that would foment in the middle of Europe the greatest land war since 1945. The fact that the European Union has had this war break out on its borders means that they've done some things that are unthinkable themselves. Germany announcing a big rearmament plan and a big boost to its defense spending. Europeans and Asian countries and the United States enacting sanctions, the likes of which have never been imposed on a country and an economy the size of Russia's, deliberately trying to foment a financial crisis in Russia and weaken that country into the indefinite future. Even Switzerland, neutral Switzerland, been neutral since 1516, announced that it would freeze Russian assets and join the EU in imposing sanctions. Finland, Sweden, countries that are not in NATO now are starting to talk about joining. And as you add all of this up, you start to see a set of alignments and an international order that is reacting very, very quickly and probably in ways that aren't going to change anytime soon to what has happened in Russia and Ukraine.
Well, what you have said, and on top of that, the United Nations voted overwhelmingly today to condemn the invasion. Only 4 nations joined Russia in voting against the resolution. Do you think that Russia, do they expect to face this much isolation?
I don't think so. I think that they expected a lightning quick fleeing of the government in Ukraine and to establish some sort of fait accompli in Ukraine that would not elicit the kind of response from the international community that we've seen. But as you just mentioned, today in the General Assembly, the kind of countries that Russia found itself together with include Syria and Eritrea and North Korea. When Vladimir Putin pledged to restore Russian greatness and its standing in the world, he can't possibly have imagined that that would be the club that he was left with.
Yeah, yes. Major players in business, in media, sports, have all taken action as well, Richard. How will all of that influence the outcome here?
It's not clear that it'll influence the immediate outcome in the sense that it will get Putin to stop the war in a way that he otherwise wouldn't, or to cease hostilities sooner than he would have. But certainly over the long run, this is going to matter dramatically to the trajectory of Russian power in the world, to economic performance, and to the life of everyday Russians. What you're seeing is certainly the financial sanctions and the kind of export controls that will go in to starve Russia of key technology and other things. But like you said, private companies are quickly divesting, oil companies, Apple and other companies that make consumer goods. And what this is going to leave Russia with is a country that, whether or not it succeeds as it would define it in Ukraine, is a country that is more isolated, that is cut off from the benefits of globalization, trade and technology and travel, and that is increasingly impoverished and weakened over the years.
The erosion of democracy here in the U.S. and around the world has become more and more apparent over the past few years. Is a reaction to the invasion proof that democracy still has a fighting chance?
Well, I hope so. I think democracy has more than a fighting chance. And of course, Russia has been one of those, if not the chief external source that's been trying to meddle in democracies abroad so as to divide what it believes to be its adversaries. But what you saw, for example, at the State of the Union address last night, for all the divisions on domestic policy and even some foreign policy matters, both at home in the United States and in democracies around the world, in Europe, in Western Hemisphere, in Asia, and elsewhere. There is a desire to not see autocracy and aggression triumph over democracy, and the desire to let people live in peace at home. And that is really, at the most basic level, what is at issue now. And it's, for all the tragedy we see in Ukraine, it is encouraging to see the counterforces that are unwilling to let this simply stand.
Richard Fontaine, thank you very much. We appreciate your appearing.
Thank you very much.